How's it going, everybody? Destauch here, and at long last, we finally have Halo Infinite gameplay. Now, before I get into the video, I just wanted to remind you guys, if you liked the video, please like it, and if you really liked it, try subscribing. But I wanted to use this video as kind of a platform to voice my impressions and some of my concerns about Halo Infinite. But overall, to let you guys know right off the bat, I was happy with what I saw. There are some things, though, that I wish could either be improved or maybe changed, and I'll voice those concerns later in the video. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Now let's start off with the first thing we see in this trailer, which is the cutscene. Now, I really like the banter that Chief and Brohammer have in this game. It kind of has a new comedic vibe that we don't really see in Halo that much. It even kind of makes Chief a comedic relief at points, kind of like a cold machine that just operates on logic. But, he's kind of socially awkward, and he doesn't know how to deal with Brohammer, so he just kind of leaves. But this cutscene also introduces, the way Chief affects people, because, everybody typically looks up to Chief as, this god figure, but if you're stuck with Chief, that's like a fight for survival. If you're ever the Marines in Halo, you're fighting for your life most of the time, especially if I'm playing. But I just love how this cutscene kind of shows the frustration of Brohammer just kind of yelling at Chief, because Chief is, indestructible, but Brohammer, he's just a dude, so all these crazy feats Chief is doing and all these missions he's going on, he's constantly putting Brohammer at risk, but Brohammer just wants to go home. But Chief knows he has to complete the mission. So I just love that whole dynamic of mission versus, livelihood. It doesn't really make Brohammer selfish. I just kind of see him as a normal dude, and I really like that. Now, next thing I want to move on to is graphics, and here it's kind of a mixed bag. A lot of the cutscenes that I see in the trailer, they look really great, but the assault rifle itself kind of looks kind of plasticky, and I'm already not a big fan of the design anyway, because I'm more of a classic assault rifle guy, but it's more of a nitpick. And in terms of the actual world itself, it looks really pretty, and I'm excited to see more of it, but it does look very current gen, which, granted, it's a current gen game, but as a next gen title, I just kind of wanted to see it push the hardware a little bit further. But, it looks good overall, just not mind-blowing, especially if you compare it to trailer 1 and 2. It made the game look a lot prettier, but, this is also a linear slice, so the game could turn out to look a lot better in other sections, and we may just not be used to the whole new art style. I remember way back in 2015, they had the new trailer for the Phantom Pain come out at E3, and I thought it was a huge downgrade, but once you actually get into the game, you're kind of adjusted to the new art style, and you adapt to it. So right now, it looks kind of rough, but I think it'll improve closer to launch, and I think we also just need to adjust to the way it looks. There's also some design aesthetic choices that I'm not a big fan of. Aside from the assault rifle, the pistol looks, it doesn't look like Halo to me. It looks like a COD pistol, or a real-life pistol. Hopefully there'll be more than one pistol in the game. Maybe that's just one of the starter pistols. I remember in Destiny 1 you actually start with a basic assault rifle that looks straight out of modern day, but you kind of move on to a more futuristic gun. So hopefully the Magnum, as we know it, will return, and perhaps this is just an early Magnum that you get. But even so, yeah, hopefully we can get the classic Magnum back, because this new Magnum looks meh, and that's really all I have to say about it. It just looks very meh. As for the other new weapons, like the one on screen right now, I kind of dig it. It's a new design, and we've never seen it before, but, it kind of fits Halo to me. It looks a little generic. This one as well. That big blocky one you saw, that looks cool, but it almost looks a little too simple. Perhaps 343 went a little overboard in simplifying their designs. But this money shot right here gives me a lot of hope, because we can kind of forgive a lot of the graphical shortcomings if this ring really is as open as I think it is. It just looks beautiful, and if it can be consistently decent across this big ring, I would be pretty impressed. But overall, pretty good. A little bit of a mixed bag in the graphics, but let's get over to the gameplay and the gunplay. Now I'm really digging a lot of this gameplay. Even though it still has sprint and stuff like that, it kind of feels slower than Halo 5 and feels much more like classic Halo to me. A lot of the weapons seem to feel pretty good, and I really like a lot of the new mechanics they've added, specifically this new mechanic that gives you a grappling hook. Now typically in Halo, to cover ground between you and the enemy, you'd run at them and, melee kill them, and then, in Halo 5's case, you'd sprint at them. But now instead of sprint, we have this new ability that allows you to basically grapple onto enemies and cover that distance. So sprint isn't as important, instead this new ability is. And I think it's a pretty cool addition, at least in a single player scenario. I don't know how it would work in multiplayer, especially when you can like grapple fusion cores and throw them at people. But maybe they'll just disable it for multiplayer. But yeah, a little bit of a concern, but in a campaign environment, I think that it's a really cool addition. And as for enemy variety, I mean, I can't really complain either in this demo. I mean, we have so many different enemies. We have brutes with explosive weapons. I think that might be some type of grenade launcher he's holding. But we have jackals, we have suicide grunts, we have regular grunts, we even have elites. So this game definitely has a crap ton of variety, even more than maybe Reach, because in Reach we had brutes and elites, but typically they didn't fight together unless you were doing firefight. But here it's just like everything at you at once, which, is gonna test you in a gameplay scenario, and I just really like the gameplay variety of all the enemies. But that's all we have on the gameplay. Now, for this last part, we'll move back to story. At the end of the gameplay demo, we actually get introduced to a new brute villain, and I'm not sure exactly who this guy is. I don't think his name has been announced yet, but he's pretty damn intimidating. Maybe not as intimidating as Atriox, but he's doing a pretty damn good job at scaring me. Just like how, choking his presence feels, especially when he seems to have eliminated the entire local UNSC force, as shown in the shot coming up right here, where there's a bunch of infinity symbols listed as deceased. Now, we don't know if he actually destroyed the infinity, but perhaps that just means that those are just units that are deployed from the infinity. So the infinity might still be alive, but with everything going on here, I don't know. But the trailer basically ends with the new banished leader basically challenging Chief to a massive battle that'll probably take over the span of the entire game. Basically, you versus big evil brute man. So I'm all for it. This guy needs his gut punched in. I think Master Chief can give that to him. So overall, a little bit of a mixed bag, but I think the good far outweigh the bad. I'm still very excited for this game, and I'm just aching to see some of that multiplayer in Forge. Please don't make us wait that much longer. But anyway, this was Destauch. I hope you guys liked the video. As always, if you liked it, please like it, and if you really liked it, try subscribing. This was Destauch, and I'll see you in the next one. Destauch out.